The party was supposed to be fun, but my husband walked out without saying a single word. 40 people watched him leave, and I stood there in my emerald dress, smiling like my heart wasn't shattering. That night, I found out the man I loved had been lying to me for years. But he made one mistake. He thought silence would protect him. He thought I would just cry and let him go. He didn't know that I wasn't the victim anymore. He didn't know I was just getting started. You want to know what happened after he walked out? Trust me, you will never see the ending coming. My name is Sophia, and I need to tell you why I'm sitting in a cold hotel room alone, wearing a dress that costs more than our first car, with a suitcase that doesn't have any of my husband's things in it. The party was supposed to be fun. That's what I keep telling myself. That's what I keep whispering like a prayer or a curse, depending on the minute. It was our 5th wedding anniversary. 5 years. That's supposed to be wood, right? The traditional gift is wood. Strong. Can be carved into something beautiful or used to build a cage. I didn't know then which one I was living in. I'm Sophia. I'm 32 years old. I have auburn hair that I dye darker every autumn because I'm terrified of going gray before I've really lived. I have a smile that people call warm, but lately feels like a mask I put on with my mascara. I used to be a kindergarten teacher before I met him, before I became a wife, before I became a person who waits by a window, watching for headlights that never come. His name is Derek. Derek with the blue eyes and the laugh that sounds like summer. Derek who held my hand so tight at our wedding that my fingers went numb, and I thought that was a metaphor for love, that it would hurt a little, but in a good way. I was wrong. The party was my idea, our 5th anniversary, and I wanted to do something big. Something that said, look at us, we made it. Because the truth is, we almost didn't. The 2nd year was hard. The 3rd year was harder. The 4th year, I found a text message on his phone that said, "Can't wait to see you again." When I asked him about it, he said it was for a coworker. A project they were working on. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. So I did. That's the thing about love. It makes you stupid, not sweet or innocent. Stupid. The kind of stupid that lets you scrub his coffee mug clean while your hands are shaking. So I planned the party for 3 months. I rented a venue downtown, a beautiful loft with exposed brick and string lights that looked like stars had fallen inside. I hired a caterer, a band. I bought a new dress, emerald green, off the shoulder, the kind of dress that makes you feel like someone else. Someone confident, someone who isn't afraid of the quiet moments when her husband looks at his phone instead of her. I invited 40 people, our friends, our families. His mother, who never really liked me but showed up anyway because she loves free champagne. My sister, Chloe, who drove 6 hours from Ohio with her 2 kids in the backseat because she said, "Soph, you deserve one night where you feel like a queen." I didn't know then that queens don't get happy endings. They get beheadings or betrayals, sometimes both. The party started at 7. By 7:15, the loft was full of laughter and music and the clink of glasses. I stood near the entrance, greeting everyone, hugging necks, accepting compliments on the dress and the flowers and the perfect setup. Everyone kept saying how perfect everything was, but Derek wasn't there. At 7:30, I called his cell. It went straight to voicemail. I left a message, my voice light and fake happy, like a weather girl reporting on a hurricane. "Hey babe, everyone's here. The band is amazing. Where are you?" At 8, I called again. Nothing. At 8:15, my sister found me in the corner, twisting my wedding ring around my finger like I was trying to unscrew it. "Where is he?" she asked. I smiled. "Traffic, you know how it is." She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. Chloe always had this way of looking at me like she could see the cracks before they showed. Like she was waiting for me to fall apart so she could catch the pieces. At 8:45, the door to the loft opened, and Derek walked in. He was wearing the suit I picked out for him. Gray, sharp. He looked handsome in the way that makes other women turn their heads and then look away quickly when they realize he's married. He looked like the man I fell in love with, but his eyes were different. They were flat, cold, like someone had turned off a light behind them. I walked toward him. The crowd parted. Everyone was watching, smiling, expecting a big anniversary kiss or a toast or something romantic. "Derek," I said, my voice shaking just a little. "You're here. I was so worried." He looked at me, really looked at me, like he was seeing me for the first time and already deciding he didn't like what he saw. "Sophia," he said. Just my name, flat, empty. What's wrong? I asked. My heart was already pounding. My hands were already cold. I knew something was coming. I could feel it in my bones, that ancient animal instinct that tells you when the ground is about to give way beneath your feet. He didn't answer. He just stood there in his gray suit in the middle of our anniversary party, surrounded by our friends and family, and he looked at me like I was a stranger. Then he turned around. He walked toward the door. Not fast, not slow, just walked, like he was leaving a grocery store after deciding he didn't need milk. "Derek," I called after him, louder now. People were staring. The band kept playing, some cheerful love song that suddenly sounded like a funeral dirge. He didn't stop. "Derek," I started walking after him. My heels clicked on the hardwood floor. Click, 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 like a countdown. He reached the door. He put his hand on the handle. "Please," I said, and I hate that I said please. I hate that I begged. I hate that I let 40 people see me beg. "Please don't go. Whatever it is, we can talk about it." He paused. For 1 second he paused. I thought maybe he would turn around. Maybe he would smile and say it was a joke. A stupid, cruel joke, but a joke. I thought maybe he would walk back to me and take my hand and lead me to the dance floor and whisper in my ear that he loved me. But he didn't. He opened the door. He walked out. And he didn't say a single word. Not one. The door closed behind him with a soft click. And the party went silent. Even the band stopped playing. 40 people held their breath. And I stood there, in my emerald green dress, in the middle of the string lights that looked like fallen stars, and I felt something break inside me. Not my heart. My heart had been breaking for years. No, this was something else, something deeper. Something that sounded like a door slamming shut in a part of my soul I didn't even know existed. My sister reached me first. She put her arms around me. She smelled like vanilla and coffee and home. "Soph," she whispered, "it's okay, I've got you." But it wasn't okay, and she didn't have me. Because the person who was supposed to have me had just walked out without a word, and I didn't know why. I didn't know anything. I didn't know if he was coming back. I didn't know if I wanted him to. I didn't know if I was a wife or a widow or a fool. All I knew was that the party was supposed to be fun, and my husband walked out without saying a word. The first hour after he left, I did what any good wife would do. I made excuses. I smiled. I told everyone that Derek wasn't feeling well, that he had a migraine, that he went home to lie down. I apologized for the drama. I poured champagne for people. I cut the anniversary cake, a beautiful 3-tier thing with buttercream frosting and fresh flowers, and I served it to our guests with a smile that felt like broken glass in my mouth. Chloe stayed by my side. She didn't say much. She just handed me napkins and refilled my water glass and gave me looks that said, "You don't have to do this." But I did have to do this. Because if I stopped pretending, if I let the mask fall, I would collapse. And I couldn't collapse in front of 40 people. I couldn't let them see how small I felt, how humiliated, how the woman in the emerald green dress was just a shell, and inside that shell was a girl who was still waiting for her husband to come back. By 10 o'clock, most people had left. The band packed up. The caterers cleared the tables. The string lights still glowed, but they looked sad now, like they knew they were performing for an empty room. My mother-in-law, Patricia, came up to me before she left. She was a tall woman with Derek's blue eyes and a mouth that always looked like she was tasting something sour. "Sophia," she said, "I don't know what you did, but I hope you're proud of yourself." I didn't say anything. I couldn't, because what could I say? That I didn't do anything. That I spent 3 months planning a party to celebrate a marriage that apparently meant nothing. That I was standing in a room full of wilted flowers and half-eaten cake, wearing a dress that cost $500, and the only thing I felt was a cold, creeping numbness that started in my chest and spread to my fingers and toes. She left. Chloe drove me home. The house was dark when we got there. No lights on, no car in the driveway. Derek's truck was gone. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom and looked at his side of the bed. The sheets were still made. His pillow still had the dent from his head. His phone charger was still plugged into the wall. He hadn't come home. "Stay with me tonight," Chloe said. She was already pulling back the covers on my side of the bed like I was a child she needed to tuck in. "I'm fine," I said. "You're not fine, and that's okay." I let her stay. I let her make me tea I didn't drink. I let her sit on the edge of the bed and stroke my hair like she used to when we were little and I had nightmares. But this wasn't a nightmare. This was real. And the worst part was I didn't know why. That's what kept me awake all night. Not the anger, not the sadness, the not knowing. The why did he walk out? Why did he come to the party at all if he was just going to leave? Why didn't he say anything? Why didn't he fight? Why didn't he scream or cry or throw something or do anything that made sense? The silence was the worst part. The silence was a knife and he had twisted it. At 3 in the morning, I got up. Chloe was asleep on the chaise lounge in the corner, her mouth open, snoring softly. I walked to Derek's closet. I opened the door. His suits hung there, neat and orderly. His shoes lined up on the floor. His cologne still on the shelf, that stupid, expensive brand he liked that smelled like pine trees and regret. I pulled out his laptop. It was old, one we'd shared in the early years of our marriage. He'd gotten a new one for work a while back, but this one still had our old photos on it. Our wedding pictures, our honeymoon in Cancun. The video of us dancing in the kitchen on our first anniversary, both of us laughing, both of us so young and so sure that love was enough. I opened the laptop. It wasn't password protected. He'd never been careful about that. Or maybe he thought I'd never look. I opened his email, and that's when I found it. The first email was from a woman named Vanessa. The subject line said, "Tonight." The body of the email was short, just 3 words. "I'll be ready." The second email was from Derek to Vanessa. It said, "I'll tell her tonight, at the party, then I'm yours." I read those emails over and over. The words blurred together. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the laptop. I felt like I was falling. Like the floor had opened up and I was tumbling into a dark hole with no bottom. He was going to tell me, at the party, in front of everyone. He was going to tell me that he was leaving me for someone else. That our marriage was over. That 5 years of my life, 5 years of cooking his meals and folding his laundry and forgiving his lies and pretending I didn't see the texts and the late nights and the way he looked at his phone when he thought I wasn't watching, all of it was nothing. But he didn't tell me. He walked out. He couldn't even give me that. He couldn't even look me in the eye and say the words. He just left, like I wasn't worth the breath it would take to end things. I closed the laptop. I sat on the floor of his closet, surrounded by his shoes and his suits and his lies, and I didn't cry. I couldn't cry. The tears were there, somewhere behind my eyes, but they wouldn't come. They were frozen, like everything else. Chloe found me there an hour later. She didn't ask questions. She just sat down next to me, took the laptop from my hands, and held me while the sun came up. The next 3 days were a blur. I called in sick to work. I stopped answering my phone. I let the dishes pile up in the sink and the mail stack up on the counter. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just sat on the couch, staring at the front door, waiting for Derek to come back. He didn't. On the 4th day, I got a text message from him, just one. It said, "I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I'll send for my things." No explanation, no apology that meant anything, no mention of Vanessa. No mention of the 5 years or the wedding or the party or the emerald green dress or the 40 people who watched him walk out. Just, "I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore." I read that text so many times that my eyes hurt. I tried to call him. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried to text back. "Who is Vanessa?" I wrote. I saw the emails. No response. I waited, an hour, 2, 3, nothing, and that's when something shifted. That's when the numbness started to fade, and something else took its place. Something hot and sharp and dangerous. Anger. Not the quiet kind. Not the kind that makes you cry into your pillow. The kind that makes you want to burn things down. The kind that makes you realize that you've been small for too long, that you've been quiet for too long, that you've been the good wife, the patient wife, the wife who looks the other way and makes excuses and scrubs the coffee mug clean while her hands are shaking. No more. I got off the couch. I took a shower. I washed my hair. I put on real clothes, jeans and a sweater, nothing fancy. I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red. My face was pale. I looked like a ghost. But there was something else there, too. Something in the set of my jaw. Something in the way I held my shoulders back. I was done being the victim. I called a lawyer. Her name was Margaret. She was a bulldog of a woman with gray hair and glasses that hung from a chain around her neck. She'd handled my friend's divorce a few years ago, and she'd gotten her everything. The house, the car, the dog, even the toaster. "Sophia," she said when I walked into her office. "I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry, I said. I want to know what I'm entitled to. She raised an eyebrow. That's the spirit. Let's get to work. We spent 2 hours going over everything. The house, the savings account, Derek's retirement fund, the truck, the boat he bought last summer without asking me, the life insurance policy he'd taken out in my name without telling me. That last one gave me pause. A life insurance policy, in my name. Taken out 6 months ago. Why would he do that? I asked Margaret. She looked at the document, then at me. Her expression was careful. Did Derek have any reason to want you out of the picture, Sophia? I laughed. It was a hollow sound. Apparently, he had every reason. He just didn't have the guts to tell me to my face. Margaret nodded slowly. I'll look into this. In the meantime, I want you to gather every piece of financial information you can find. Bank statements, credit card bills, anything that shows where his money has been going. His money, I said. It's our money. I worked too. I contributed. I know, she said gently. But the more we know, the stronger our case. I went home and started digging. That night, I found more than I bargained for. I started with the bank statements. Derek had always handled the finances. He said it was easier that way. I didn't question it. I trusted him. That was my first mistake. My second mistake was thinking that trust was a two-way street. I logged into our joint account online. The password was still the same, our anniversary date, which now felt like a sick joke. I scrolled through the transactions. The usual stuff: mortgage, utilities, groceries. But then I saw something else. Withdrawals, large ones. $500 here, $1,000 there, all made at ATMs in towns I'd never heard of. I cross-referenced the dates with his work calendar. Every time he said he had a late meeting or a business trip, there was a withdrawal. Sometimes 2 in one night. Then I found the credit card statements. Derek had a card in his name, only one I didn't know about. The statements were being sent to a P.O. box. But Margaret had a contact at the bank, and she got me access. What I saw made my blood run cold. Dinners at expensive restaurants, hotel rooms, plane tickets to Florida, to Vegas, to New York, all booked for 2 people. All during times when he told me he was working late or visiting a client out of town. But the worst part was the jewelry: a diamond necklace, a bracelet, a watch, all purchased from a store in the city, all in the last 3 months. All for someone who wasn't me. I sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by papers, and I felt the anger rising again. But this time, it was different. This time, it was cold, calculated, the kind of anger that doesn't scream or cry. The kind that plans. I called Margaret the next morning. I found something, I said, and I have an idea. Margaret listened. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Sophia, she said finally, that's a risky move. So was taking out a life insurance policy on your wife without telling her, I said. So was spending our savings on another woman. So was walking out of our anniversary party without saying a word. Another pause. Then Margaret laughed. It was a sharp, approving sound. Okay, let's do it. The plan was simple, beautifully simple. And it hinged on one thing: Derek's greed. I knew Derek. I knew him better than he knew himself. He was a man who loved money, who loved the appearance of success, who would do anything to protect his precious reputation. So I decided to take it all away. Step 1 was the house. Margaret filed a motion to prevent Derek from selling or transferring any assets until the divorce was finalized. That meant the house was mine, at least for now. Derek couldn't touch it. He couldn't sell it. He couldn't even take the furniture without a court order. Step 2 was the bank accounts. I drained our joint account, every last penny. I moved it to an account in my name, only one Derek didn't know about. Legally, I was entitled to half, but I took it all. Let him come after me for it. Let him try to explain to a judge why he'd been making mysterious withdrawals for months. Step 3 was the most satisfying. I found Vanessa. It wasn't hard. Social media is a wonderful thing. Her name was Vanessa Monroe. She was 35. She worked as a real estate agent. She had blonde hair and a smile that looked practiced, like she'd spent a lot of time perfecting it in front of a mirror. And she had a husband. That's right. Derek's mistress was married. Her husband's name was Marcus. He was a contractor, a big guy with calloused hands and a kind face. They had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. They lived in a nice house in the suburbs, the kind with a white picket fence and a swing set in the backyard. I sent Marcus a message on Facebook. Just one sentence. Your wife is having an affair with my husband. I have proof. He responded within an hour. Who is this? I sent him screenshots. The emails, the credit card statements, the hotel receipts, the jewelry purchases. He didn't respond after that, but I didn't need him to. I knew what he was doing. He was packing his wife's bags. He was calling a lawyer. He was feeling the same cold, sharp anger that I was feeling. And that was just the beginning. A week later, Derek called me. For the first time since he walked out, he called. Sophia, he said. His voice was tight, strained. What did you do? I don't know what you're talking about, I said. My voice was calm, sweet, even like honey over broken glass. The bank accounts are empty. The house is frozen. Vanessa's husband threw her out. He's filing for divorce. He says he knows everything. That's terrible, I said. I'm so sorry to hear that. Sophia, his voice cracked. Please, we can work this out. Work what out? I asked. You walked out of our anniversary party without saying a word. You left me standing there in front of 40 people. You didn't even have the courage to tell me you were leaving. You just left. I know, he said. I know I was a coward. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough. What do you want? He asked. Tell me what you want and I'll do it. I smiled. He couldn't see it, but I smiled. It was the first real smile I'd smiled in weeks. I want you to feel what I felt, I said. I want you to know what it's like to be humiliated, to be abandoned, to be left with nothing but questions and a room full of people who saw you fall apart. Sophia. Goodbye, Derek. I hung up. And for the first time since the party, I felt something other than numbness or anger. I felt powerful. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because revenge isn't just about taking things away. It's about making sure the other person understands exactly what they lost, exactly what they threw away, exactly what they will never, ever have again. So I planned one more party. This one was smaller, just a few people, my sister, my parents, a couple of friends who had stuck by me through the worst of it, and Derek's mother, Patricia. I invited Patricia because I wanted her to see. I wanted her to see the woman she'd always dismissed, the woman she'd blamed for her son's unhappiness, standing tall and whole and absolutely unbroken. The party was at my house, the house that was now mine alone. I cooked dinner myself, a simple pasta dish, nothing fancy. I wore jeans and a white blouse, no emerald green dress, no string lights, no band. Just me and the people who actually loved me. Patricia arrived last. She looked older than I remembered, thinner. Her blue eyes were wary, darting around the room like she expected a trap. Sophia, she said. Why am I here? Because I wanted you to see something, I said. I led her to the living room where everyone else was gathered. They were quiet, watching. I stood in the center of the room. I took a deep breath, and then I told them everything. Not just about the party, not just about Vanessa, about the texts, the late nights, the lies, the life insurance policy, the drained accounts. The years of feeling small and invisible and not enough. I told them about the woman I used to be. The woman who scrubbed coffee mugs with shaking hands. The woman who smiled when she wanted to scream. The woman who waited by the window, watching for headlights that never came. And then I told them about the woman I was becoming. The woman who fought back. The woman who took what was hers. The woman who refused to be a victim anymore. When I finished, the room was silent. Chloe was crying. My father was holding my mother's hand. My friends were staring at me with something like awe. And Patricia was pale. Her hands were trembling. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something other than disapproval in her eyes. I didn't know, she whispered. He never told me. He never told anyone, I said. That was the point. He wanted to control the story. He wanted to be the victim. But I'm done letting him write the narrative. Patricia left a few minutes later. She didn't say goodbye. She just walked out like her son had. But this time, it didn't hurt. This time, I felt nothing but a quiet sense of closure. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. I got the house. I got half of Derek's retirement fund. I got the boat, which I sold and used the money to start a small business, a bookstore, something I'd always dreamed of. I kept my maiden name. I changed my number. I moved on. Derek. He moved in with Vanessa for a while. But without Marcus's income, without our savings, without the life he'd carefully constructed, things fell apart quickly. Vanessa blamed him. He blamed her. They broke up within 3 months. Last I heard, Derek was living in a small apartment on the other side of town. He'd lost his job. Apparently, his boss found out about the affair and the lies and the money he'd stolen from our joint account. He was alone, unemployed, unloved, and me, I'm sitting in this hotel room because I'm on a business trip for my bookstore. We're opening a second location. Me, the woman whose husband walked out without a word. The woman who stood in an emerald green dress in a room full of string lights and felt her heart break into 1,000 pieces. I'm not going to tell you that I'm happy. Happiness is a funny thing. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days I feel it, some days I don't. But I will tell you this, I'm free, and that's better than happy. That's better than any party or any dress or any man who looks at you like you're the center of his universe. Freedom is knowing that you don't have to wait by the window anymore. Freedom is knowing that you are enough, even when no one is watching. Freedom is knowing that you can walk out of any room, at any time, and you don't owe anyone an explanation. Derek taught me that. In the worst way possible, he taught me that. The party was supposed to be fun, but my husband walked out without saying a word. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me.